Okay, today we're going to graph rational functions. First thing we want to start out doing is finding your vertical and horizontal asymptotes that we talked about the last couple of days. So the vertical asymptote, you want to find where the denominator will equal 0. Because you can't divide by 0. That's why there's an asymptote there, because it's not possible. So my vertical asymptote, if I look at this denominator, it has to be a positive 1. Okay. Because 1 minus 1 is 0, and you can't divide by 0. That's why we have that dotted line. Horizontal asymptote we talked about yesterday. You're going to look at your highest degree of x in the numerator and the denominator. So on this one, we have an x to the sneaky 1, x to the sneaky 1. So our degrees are equal. If they're equal, we're going to divide the numbers in front. So 1 divided by 1 would be 1. Okay. I would definitely keep those notes out that we went over the last 2 days, so you can do the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. Okay, so that part's just review, and if you're absent, there's your lesson. So what I do next is I go ahead and graph my asymptotes. So go to your graph. We're going to have a vertical asymptote where x is positive 1. So go ahead and draw a line where x is positive 1. Okay. Next, we're going to graph our horizontal asymptote, which is where y equals 1. So a horizontal line where y is 1. After you have your asymptotes drawn, we're going to let the calculator do the rest. We're going to fill in our table. Now, on your table, the reason we have 2 different tables side by side is because we are going to go up to our vertical asymptote where it doesn't exist because you can't divide by 0. We're going to go all the way up to it, and then we're going to skip that x value and then keep going. Let me show you what I mean. If my vertical asymptote is x equals 1, I'm going to skip that x value. So I'm going to do everything before it. So 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. I'm going to do everything before that vertical asymptote, and I'm going to do everything after the asymptote. So 0, negative 1 to negative 5. And then we're going to skip positive 1 because it doesn't exist. And we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the other table. So you'll have one table for before the vertical asymptote and one table for after. All right, let's go to our calculator. Go to y equals. Now, here's the thing you need to make sure you do, because this is where it could mess up. Your numerator and your denominator have to be in parentheses, or else it won't graph it right. It won't be the same graph. So we're going to do parentheses x plus 2. Everybody should be graphing this. Divided by parentheses x minus 1. Close parentheses. So make sure you separate the numerator and the denominator. All right, and I'm going to go to my table. So second graph. And we're going to fill in our table on our paper. Okay. So let's go to where x is negative 5. So my point would be negative 5.5, and I'm going to write that on my paper. Negative 4.4, negative 3.25, negative 2, 0, and so on. Oops. Okay. So negative 5.5, negative 4.4, negative 3.25, negative 2, 0, negative 1, negative 0.5, 0, negative 2. That's my first table. second table, I'm going to look on my calculator. When x is positive 2, my y is 4, 3, 2.5, 4, 2, 5, 1.75, 1.6, and 1.5. All right, once you have your tables filled out, now we're going to plot those points on our graph. Okay, so negative 5.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and positive 0.5 would be somewhere in here. Use a different color. Right here, halfway between 0 and 1. And here's the part where I see a lot of mistakes too. It's when you start graphing. Don't graph based on the asymptotes you drew. Make sure you're still following the normal axis. 0, 0, and then negative 1, negative 2. I see a lot of people thinking 0, 0 is in the middle of those two dotted lines, and that's not what's going on. That's just showing your boundary lines. It's not making a whole new axis. So negative 5.5, negative 4.4 is going to be really similar, and then negative 3.25, y'all's is probably going to look a lot better. Negative 1, negative 0.5, 0, negative 2. Okay, and we're going to connect those dots. Now, whenever you connect them, make sure you go ahead and extend that curve out. You want to get really, really close to your asymptotes, but not actually touch it. So I'm going to get really, really close to it, but it's not actually going to touch it. It's just going to get really close. Okay, and then my other table, we have the point 2, 4. So make sure you go where x is positive 2 and y is positive 4. Don't let the asymptotes mess up your graph. It's still 2 to the right, 4 up. 3, 2.5, 2.5, 4, 2, 5, 1.75, 6, 1.6, 7, 1.5. Okay, and then you're going to draw your curve. Get really, really close to those boundary lines, but don't actually touch it. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. And this is actually what your quiz is over on Friday. It's open note, so you can use all your worksheets. That way you can do the vertical and horizontal asymptotes with some help. But yeah, we just let the calculator do the rest of the work. Alright, second example, we're going to go through this a little bit faster now that we've kind of explained everything. So my vertical asymptote, I'm looking at my denominator. So when would my denominator be 0? And it would be when x is negative 2. And since we can't divide by 0, we have an asymptote there. X equals negative 2. My horizontal asymptote, since there's not an x in the numerator, it's like saying x to the 0 power. Okay, so my exponent in the numerator is less than my exponent in the denominator. So my horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. If you're a little confused on that, pull out your notes from yesterday and look over those 3 different types of horizontal asymptotes. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and graph our vertical and horizontal asymptotes. We have one where x is negative 2. So a vertical line when x is negative 2. Our horizontal one is y equals 0. So a horizontal line where y is 0. Once you have those asymptotes drawn, we're going to go to our calculator. Go to y equals, and we're going to put in our equation. So 3 divided by, make sure that x plus 2 is in parentheses. Okay, so parentheses x plus 2. Go to your table. Now, on your table, remember we're going around our vertical asymptote. So, let me erase this because it's not going to be -5 necessarily anymore. So my vertical asymptote is at -2. I need to go before that and after. So I'm going to skip -2 and I'm going to go backwards. So -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and then -8. Okay, my table for after the asymptote is going to start where x is -1. So -1, 0. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, so look at your calculator. You're going to fill in your table. When x is -8, my y is -0.5, -7 is -0.6, -0.75. If you're not getting these numbers, then you put it in your calculator wrong. So go back to y equals, make sure you have those parentheses. Okay. -1, 3, 0, 1.5, 1, 0.75, 0.6, and 0.5. Okay, let's go ahead and plot those points and draw your curve. Okay. -8.5. Oh, -8 and -0.5. I'm sorry. So it'd be here. -7, -0.6, -6, -0.75, -5, -1, -4, -1.5, -3, -3. Then we have the point -1, 3. Remember, when you're plotting these points, you're not necessarily looking at these asymptotes. You're looking at the normal axis. So -1, 3. 0, 1.5, 1, 1, 2.75, 3.6, and 4.5.